Samantha from Jessima Tutorials here, and today I'm going to show you a fun way to create almost a Starry Night like spiral cane, and we're going to use that to create a pendant. Now I have a selection of colours here in Primo Polymer clay, and I've got white, black, antique gold, gold, navy blue, pale blue. And those are the colours that I am going to be using. Now, this technique also works very well for scrap clay. I would recommend still using the black and the white, but you could swap these colours out for some scrap clay if you want to try to do that. That would work as well. But for today, I'm going to be using just straight colours. None of these have been conditioned, they're just straight off of the block essentially. And that's because what I'm going to do is, let me just put these to the side. I'm going to take each colour and I'm going to chop that up into tiny little pieces, and then I'm going to mix them together in a deliberate way. So don't chop them all together, you want to do them separately. And this is why I haven't conditioned them, because if you don't condition the clay it's a bit firmer, and so all of the pieces don't stick to each other. You can see there that I can move them around quite independently, so I wouldn't recommend conditioning them before doing this. And you're going to take those and you're going to chop them down to pieces that are about a millimetre in diameter, roughly speaking. Okay, then once you've got those all chopped into little pieces, then we're good to start assembling the start of our cane. So I want the cane to kind of go from a dominant gold colour to dominant blue. I'm going to have all colours present at all times, but I want it to be a little bit of a blend. So I've got some of the gold here and then the antique gold, and I'm going to mix a little bit of the white in and a little bit of the black. And I'm then going to just chop that a little bit, because that can help mix the colours through, and sometimes the colours can be a little sticky, like the black is a little on the sticky side, so giving it a little chop and helping it loosen up helps mix things through. Okay, and that's the first pile, and what I'll do then is I'm just going to squish that down into a roughly square or rectangular shape, and we're going to build the colours on top of that. Okay, so just press that down. Does not need to be perfect, you just want it to be roughly that shape. Pop that to the side. Then the next one is going to contain a little bit of the antique gold and a little bit of the gold, and then I'm going to start to mix through this darker navy blue colour, and then in each one I am going to mix a little bit of white and a little bit of black, and that will be the next one. And then what I'm going to do is I'll slowly go through all of the colours, so the next one will contain a lot less of the antique gold and the gold, and I'll start to mix more and more of the blue through. Okay, and there we go. Then what I'm going to do is I'm probably just going to take them and I'm just going to pop them together so that they're slightly overlapping, because I want to give them a little blend. I don't want them to just be together the way they are. And I'm just going to take that and I'm going to form it into a more cohesive rectangle shape. Just pressing things together. And then what I'm going to do is, you could roll it through your pasta machine or you can use your roller, but you're going to take that and you're going to roll that flat, and then you're going to fold kind of like you would if you're creating a skinner blend. So you're going to roll, fold, and just squish the ends up and make it all nice and neat, and then roll again, and then just continue doing that until you start to get a slight marble effect. Generally 4 rolls will do, 4 to 6, but yeah, you'll see how many I do and I'll let you know how many rolls there were. And that was exactly 4 rolls, including the one that I showed on camera. And you can see that you start to get a cool marble effect. And this is a nice way to actually just create a marble effect, if that's something that you wanted to go for. I'm just nicking this up because there's a piece of metal leaf there. But now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and I'm going to fold it a few more times, but I'm not going to thin it out. And this is just to thicken it up a little bit. And make sure you remove the air bubbles when you do this by just smoothing along the edges. Okay, and just press the ends as well because they'll be a little raggedy, like so. Alright, and then it's up to you which side you want to be the center of your spiral cane and which you want to be on the outside. I want the blue to be on the inside, so that's the bit that I'm going to taper. I'm just going to squish that gently so that it starts to form a taper. You could use your roller to do that as well. Okay, and this end I'll push up a little bit to thicken it so that it's just got a little bit of a, this is an extremely long triangle, but that's roughly what you're looking for. Then go from the tapered end and start to roll up the piece, and roll and just press in on the edges when you're rolling, because sometimes it will kind of spill out on itself. Okay, and there we go. Then I'm going to just press, I'm going to be reducing it down a little bit by doing this, but it's also to just kind of press all of the colours together and remove anything like air bubbles, and just to get it all joined up and together again and nice and smooth. Alright, and that should do. Then let's cut and see how it looks. And there you can see how that looks. That looks quite cool. And you would get a different effect depending on what colours of clay you use, and also how fine you chop the pieces. So it's going to look different each time, but I think it looks quite cool. I generally like having the lighter colour in the middle, moving out towards the outside, but that's again a personal preference. Alright, and then from there I'm going to take slices. I'm just going to take those, and I'm going to try to get all the slices to be around about the same thickness. There we go. So I've got 4 slices. That's 2 that is 4 for that size. Then I'm going to take this and I'm going to reduce it down just a little bit, not too much, because the pattern is already quite fine and I don't want it to become muddy. And this is why I recommend always using black and white, because the black and white will create a little more definition to the piece than if it was just colours. Also, if you do choose to use leftovers for this technique, I would chop the leftovers less than if you were using solid colours. So I would probably chop them to about 2 millimeters thick rather than the 1 millimeter roughly that I did. And there we go. That should be enough for the piece that I'm going to be making, but there you can see how that looks. Okay, now you can use that cane however you wish, but from this point what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab just plain printing paper. You can use greaseproof paper as well, and just pop those slices with a fair bit of distance between each of them. And I'm going to just give them a burnish just to kind of flatten them out and smooth them down. Just take that and just go over each one and just give it a little burnish. And this isn't completely necessary, but just due to the nature of the cane, there were a few air bubbles that were trapped, and this can just kind of smooth out those imperfections on the cane slice. The cane can also have a few drag marks from the blade, and I like to flatten that out as well. go. And what I'm going to do now, I believe I missed that one. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to cut out pieces from this. So keep this paper to the side here, and you're going to choose a selection of cutters, and I'm just using some circle cutters here, and I'm probably going to work with 4 different sizes. Just pop them there. What you're going to do is you're going to take that and just find one that works well, cut, and that is scrap. You're going to take that and you're going to transfer that over here. Grab another one and just do that with all of the cane slices. And you are cutting on a piece of paper, so it may stick in the cutter. If you don't want that to happen, then you can take this and you can transfer it back over onto the tile, and that will provide a little bit of a sticky back for the clay, and then you can cut and then it won't stick. So if you're having trouble with that, then that's something that you can do, but then don't pick it up with your hands, use your blade to just shimmy that up, and then just pop them off to the side like this. Okay, and then once you've done that, now what I would like to do is I'm going to take these, and I want to slot this one slightly over this one, so choose whereabouts you want that to happen. You then take the cutter that you used to cut out the piece you want to slot in, trim that away, and then place that into place like so. And then you're going to change up the different cutters as you go, like so, and then just slot that in like so. And you'll keep doing that for all of the pieces. You might want to add more pieces, you might want to just stay with the amount that you have. It's completely up to you, but yeah. And there we go, that's what you should end up with. Now you could make an entire veneer like this. I've just made enough to accommodate the pendant that I'm going to be making, but you could just continue doing this and create an entire slab, and then cut out anything you wanted from it. But once you're happy with it, take a piece of paper and just burnish over the top. This is going to put all the pieces, it's going to smooth all the pieces together, smooth out those seam lines, and just bond everything together. Do not take your roller and roll, because you'll stretch the pattern. You want to just go over and just gently burnish everything together. You want to discourage distortion as much as possible. Okay, lift that up and see if it's completely smooth. It is completely smooth except for this one little spot here. You can always place the paper back down and smooth back over any areas that you are not completely happy with. And there we go. And it looks quite nice as it is. Right, then I would recommend choosing the cutter that you want to use for your piece, or you can have chosen it beforehand, but this is the cutter that I am going to be using. This is roughly where I want to cut it out, and then the rest I want to be black. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this black, and this is just black primo, and I rolled it out to about the same thickness that these pieces are here, which is the thickest setting of my pasta machine. Though that is going to vary depending on how thick your cane slices were. So just double check how thick these are, and then you can adjust. Then I'm just going to pick this up off the paper, and you can see how it looks on the back there. And I want to actually try to make this a double-sided piece. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to continue working on the paper, and I've just flipped it because the other one had a little bit of residue, and I know that I want to cut like this. So I've laid that over the top. Don't press down on it because you don't want the two pieces to stick together. And I'm going to take a craft knife, and I am very roughly going to cut around the piece like so. And it does not need to be circular, not perfectly circular anyway. Okay, and just then pick this up. You should be able to remove the two pieces from one another, like so. And then just remove that extra clay. And it's okay if it gets nicked and such. That doesn't really matter at this point because it's going to get burnished. Then I'm going to go back in here and I'm going to just finish up the trim because again it is going to get burnished together, so it does not need to fit together perfectly. And I want these to have a little bit of a sharper, cleaner edge on them. Okay. That should do. Then take that and slot it into place. And it should fit just about. Does not need to be a perfect fit. You can just take the black and kind of squish it into place like so. And also this is all clay and I plan to sand it later, so again lots of things that are not quite perfect right now can get cleaned up later on. Take a piece of paper and just go over the top and give it a thorough burnish. You want both of these veneers or pieces of clay stuck together. You don't want any fingerprints. You also want them to be about the same thickness as one another. Also make sure it's sandwiched between two pieces of paper because then the back gets burnished at the same time. And then we're going to have a completely double-sided piece, which is always nice to have. And at this point you can take your roller. Don't roll like so, just take it and you can use that to give it a burnish as well. Like so. And that should just about do. I'm going to lift that up and there should be it should be completely smooth between the black and your piece. And I am going to lift that off the paper like so. And you can see there that it's double-sided. Now I'd recommend lifting it, especially if you plan on it being double-sided, because then you can check that both sides are okay. Then I'm going to grab a tile. Let me just bring that over. Okay, and I really don't want this to distort, so I'm going to cut it out on a tile, which does mean that the back is going to need some sanding, because it's probably going to end up with some shiny spots. That's okay because it's all clay. So I'm just gently burnishing it down onto the tile. And if you are going to cut on a tile, my tip to you is to, when you lay it down, and then if you're going to burnish it or even just smooth it over, start from one end and push out towards the other, and that way it should smooth most of the air bubbles out and we'll end up with less shiny spots because it's trapped air bubbles that create those shiny spots. Then I want one side to be textured, so I'm going to bring over this texture stamp, which is my new favourite texture stamp, and I'm just going to pop that down, just give it a roll, and turn it the other way, give it a roll, and that will give me a nice little kind of checkered effect. And the other side is going to end up being smooth, so that way I can have a different effect on both sides. Now I'm going to take the donut cutter of choice, and again you can use any cutter you want, and just make sure that you get a nice clean cut. Okay, and I'm going to lift up around the edges, that way I can make sure that I definitely got a clean cut. Also, just use your blade to trim that black away, because that is not marked with anything, and now you can just use that straight as black like normal, and that's the only scrap rather than it being all of it. Then lift that up, and you could keep the centerpiece if you wanted. I don't, so I'm going to lift that up, and there we go, that's the piece. What I do know is that when I assemble this, I want to have a bead at the top here. So I'll put that to the side, and I'm going to bring over the scraps that I've accumulated throughout the project. And I do want to actually mostly work with these ones, because these ones are nice and clean. I'm just going to fold that up on itself and trim away the black again, because we just had a little bit of that. Just gonna pop that together in such a way that I preserve as much of the pattern as possible, because I want to make one big rondelle bead. Okay, just squish that up. I'm going to remove that. Okay, and then you want to form that into kind of a piece that you can start to roll in your palms to create a round. So, and I'll see how it comes out. I'm not really liking how it's coming out, so let's just see for a second. Not a big fan, so I'll put that to the side, and I'm instead going to bring over one of the cane pieces that I have from earlier, and I'm instead going to use that. I'm going to just trim the one side, there we go, so that I have some more of that pattern exposed. There we go. And then I will take this, I don't want this to be too big actually, so let me just grab that, cut down, and then I'm going to form that into a round by folding it over. And then those parts are going to be a little mushy, so just use your blade to trim that back and to clean up the pattern. Then roll that in your palms. And there we go, that will give a cleaner pattern. Happier with that. Okay, then grab something, let's see, I'll grab a piece of paper. Okay. And I've also got a little micro circle, because that I'm going to cut out a center with. Okay, and position it so the bit that you dislike the most is facing directly up, because that's going to get cut out. And then just take a block of any kind, this is just an acrylic block, and flatten it out. And that is going to give the rondelle shape. Then grab the microcircle cutter and position it so that it's in the middle, and cut out the hole. And you can even use it while it's on there to smooth out any fingerprints by gently running it over your fingers like so, and that will actually smooth it out. Then get that off, and there we go, you got yourself a little bead, and that I will use with the donut later, and that I will bake with the donut. Right, that is going to go into the oven for a full hour at Primo's recommended temperature. Then when it comes out and it's finished cooling, then we're going to sand the back, because it is definitely going to need some sanding. This part isn't going to get sanded because it's got a texture on it, and then we're probably going to end up assembling it, because this is all clay, it's not going to need any kind of varnish, so this one's probably going to end up being matte. Okay, and here it is out of the oven. This is the side that was textured, and this is the side that was baked on the tile. And there you can see that although it's relatively smooth, there are still pits on the surface, so I am going to sand that. And all you're going to do is you're going to grab some sandpaper. This is a 600 grit, and just pop a little bit of water on your piece because you want to sand it wet. And then you're just going to sand it. And it shouldn't take long. And it will leave it with a nice matte finish. And you should be able to feel if there are any pits left. It should have a nice smooth silky finish. And there we go. And here's how that should look. Now what I would recommend doing is to give that a little bit of a extra shine, like I've got over here. All I did was rub it against my jeans as fast as I can, and that's actually a good way to get a very light buff on your pieces without needing a rotary tool. And the reason I didn't use my rotary tool is because the buffing wheel I currently have has a lot of Renaissance wax on it, and I didn't really want to apply wax to this, so just buff it against an old rag or jeans. That works both ways, and you can get a decent buff. Then I have this piece which I'm going to leave just exactly the way it is, and it looks quite nice. It almost looks like something that you would get when you're doing paint pouring, which I'm quite happy with. Then to assemble it, I'm just going to bring over this necklace that already was pre-made, where you've got these little cord ends and then a toggle clasp, and the cord itself is rat's tail. And all I'm going to do is I'm just going to find the middle point, take that and pop that through like so, and then pop those through, loop, make sure that goes over the top of the bead, and bring it down, and there we go. That's all you need to do to assemble it, and it makes for quite a cute little necklace. Just make sure that's nice and tight and assembled right, and then it becomes a double-sided piece because you can wear it either way. You can have one with a slight shine to it, or you can use the one that has the texture. But yeah, that is pretty much it for the tutorial. A nice simple one. I thought this was a fun little cane that really, if you're just starting with polymer clay, it's a great cane to start with. It doesn't require too much in the way of keeping an exact image. It's really fun to make. You can use it with leftovers, like I said at the beginning of the tutorial. You can use any colours that you want. So yeah, it's a great cane to play around with. But yeah, that is pretty much it for the tutorial. If you enjoyed it, please do let me know in the comments below. And if you liked the video, please consider leaving a like and subscribing, as I do videos like this pretty much every single day, and I'm sure you won't want to miss a single one. Also, if you have questions or requests for future tutorials, please let me know and I will respond to those as soon as possible. And if you'd like to support the channel so I can continue creating videos just like this one, please do consider becoming a member. There is a join button just below the video, or there is a link to my Patreon account in the description below. Both are one and the same, where I create slightly more complex tutorials than the ones that I do on YouTube. Either one is greatly appreciated. And again, I do hope that you enjoyed the video. I certainly did, and I will see you in the next one. Bye for now.